Oh, hello. How are you? Welcome. It's Dawn here. How you doing? Make sure you can hear me okay. Hello. Nice to see you. Welcome. Okay, I am just making sure my audio. Hi, Helen. Hi, Dave. It's so good to see you guys. I missed you. I missed you so badly. I don't know if you caught my live stream last week, but we're back to it. So good to see you. Yes, beer and snacks time for sure. I'm drinking a ginger beer. Okay, good. I put in my headset, so hopefully that'll I can I can better tell and make sure there's no echoing and that kind of thing when I play the video for you. So, oh, thank you. You're too kind. You're too kind, Helen. Thank you. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, I think I'll just leave this comment up all night. No, kidding. If you're new to my channel, hello, it's Dawn here. Welcome. And what I try to do on my channel is I try to do my best imitation of being a potential juror, whether it's watching a trial or looking at evidence that might come up into that most likely will come into an upcoming trial. I don't always do the best job. Obviously, it's impossible to be biased. And of course, you can't be a potential juror and look at all of the evidence I have ahead of time. But I do try my very, very best, especially during trials, to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and to presume innocence. So, but having said that, there are certain cases, like the Markel case and like this case that we're going to be talking about tonight, the disappearance and presumed murder of Crystal Rogers in Bardstown, Kentucky, where it's kind of hard not to be somewhat biased before the trial even starts. So, having said that, if you're new to this, if you look in the description, there are some links for you to catch up. But we're moving on tonight to Brooks Houck's brother's police interview. Now, who's Brooks Houck? He is Crystal Rogers' baby daddy, boyfriend of a few years. Brooks is now finally, after 8 years, he was finally arrested in October of 2023. So that would be about 4 months ago, 5 months ago-ish, getting close to 5 months. So he was arrested. His brother, Nick, at the time of Crystal Rogers' disappearance, was a police officer, also in Bardstown, Kentucky, where this all happened, where they lived, and all of those things. He's no longer a police officer. He was fired for interfering with the investigation into his brother, but he has not yet been arrested for anything. There were some really interesting allegations, I guess you could say mentions of him in the last hearing where the special prosecutor, because now there's a special prosecutor on this case. It's just got legs, all kinds of tentacles, where they said they were connecting Nick Houck's gun, a sale of a gun to someone else. And that gun was used to murder Crystal Rogers' father, who was murdered a year after she went missing, a little bit more than a year. So there is a connection between Nick Houck. I have such a hard time with that name. And Tommy Ballard, who's Crystal Rogers' father. Okay. So there's a lot more to this story. I'm not going to blab all night. I'd like to get into the police interview. This is going to be about an hour and a half, so I'll probably have to break it into 2, if not 3, depending on how I feel. I'm going to do my best to make it halfway through tonight with you all. That's why I started a little earlier. And then in this interrogation, you're going to hear the detectives offer a polygraph test to Nick Houck. And by the way, Brooks Houck was also given a polygraph. They mention it during this interrogation. That's the only reason we know it. Then there's going to be, after we get through this one, will probably take at least 2 sessions or more of us live streaming, because we do pause and chat. And then we're going to get into the next police interview where they review Nick Houck's polygraph results with him. That's very, very interesting. So with that, and Dave Stark says, I've seen many liars with real crime cases, but Nick's is the worst liar ever. I am definitely picking up on some family traits. And in fact, we'll see it when we look at this interview. But even the detective said, is that how you talk to people? So it's going to be quite interesting to hear your reaction to this. So let's see. Here we go. And then also, just by way of reference, this interview was done after the interrogation, and they refer to it as interrogation, so I will too, of Brooks Houck, which took me, I think, 3 sessions to get through. I finished it last week. So it was done, this interview is done after Brooks's, okay? And again, before the polygraph. So let me come back here. Hi, Dennis girl. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, it's nice to see you all here. Okay, now I'm going to play this. I'm going to start playing this, and then if you could just let me know if you can hear it okay before I go too far. So let me grab that over here on a separate window so I can see your comments. All right. All right.
See if we can find some. You want that chair? This chair? Desk.
Shuffling papers. Can you hear the shuffling papers? It's so loud in my ears. I had to.
What you all talked about on the way over here? Or... No, we just basically talked about that he was willing to come over and talk to us, but Tommy's car, really. Okay. Yeah, he liked the Caprice. Did he? It's actually John's car. Yeah. Okay. A little dirty. I need to get in.
Okay, could you guys hear, audience, could you hear, they did started chit-chatting a little bit. Let me know if you can hear.
It's been raining so much, it's hard to do anything with it. So just want to make sure you understand you're not under arrest, okay? I want to make sure that's. Oh, I know that. I know that. Okay. And it's my understanding that you testified to the grand jury this morning, is that correct? Okay. And Mr. Gohagan made mention of that you'd be willing to come in and, under oath, whatever that. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Okay, so you're still fine doing that? Okay. I guess let's just kind of start from the beginning. You don't know us, or I don't know you, you don't know me, so you get your full name. Nicholas Houck. Sorry, yes. Yeah, you can't take. Any other cell phone? Or Bluegrass. It's one or the other. AT&T or Bluegrass. I just changed it about maybe a month ago. Which did work? 12/18/1979. All right. You reside there at 99 Olympia Drive with anybody else? My girlfriend. What's her name? Amber Bowman. Do you know her date of birth right off? She's born in 84. It's April the 11th. Okay. All right. How long y'all live there? We've only been there for 2 or 3 weeks. And we just moved from 104 Glenview Drive in Bardstown. 104 Glen, what did you say? Glenview. Glenview. I guess it's just kind of start from the beginning. You know what you're here to talk to us about, right? Sure. Okay. What is that? Yeah. Crystal Rogers. Okay. How do you know Crystal Rogers? She's my brother's girlfriend. Okay. And how long have you known her? How long have they been? I'm assuming. Did you know her before they started dating? No, I didn't. So how long have they been dating? 2 or 3 years, maybe. So 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. They have a child together, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, what's his name?
Eli,
Oh, Eli.
about 2.5.
Okay, and do they reside together or they?
Yeah, they reside together.
Okay. What's their address?
113 or 116 Linview.
So y'all live pretty close when you were at the old house.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother's name is Brooks, is that right?
Yeah, Brooks Houck.
How much interaction did you have with Crystal over the years?
Almost none.
Okay. I mean, did y'all, how often would you see your brother and her, or just her? Or?
I mean, I pass her on the street, that's about it, you know. I mean, my brother's got a bunch of rental properties and stuff. I mean, I just don't see him. I see him on the road, and that's about it, you know.
Okay.
He's so busy, we don't hang out much anymore.
Okay. And do y'all go to family functions together around Christmas, Thanksgiving, or?
You know, if we've got time, we do. You know, I mean, I've got about a dozen rental properties and work full time with the PD, and obviously got a family, and
Sure.
you know, I mean, we're just busy guys.
Sure, I understand that completely. I think we can sympathize with that.
Definitely.
So, in the 2 to 3 years they've been dating, how many times have you been around Crystal?
I've been out of this house, I don't know, maybe half a dozen times or so.
Could be more, could be less. I mean, we're not trying to put you into a specific number.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sure.
What do you know about them? Their relationship. What do you know about their relationship?
I mean, they didn't really argue or anything in front of me. That's what you're getting at. I mean, they seem pretty happy to me. So.
I mean, we all have, you know, I've got a brother, and if something's going on, he'll call him bitch. You know, he'll call him, and you won't believe what this crazy woman did, or you won't believe this, or you won't believe that. I mean, did he ever give you anything like that?
No, well, he didn't complain to me.
Okay. So how often would you see your brother? I know you said you pass him on the street, and that's about it. But how many times a year would you see your brother?
You know, if I need a tool or something like that to borrow from him, I may see him, but I mean, I couldn't really put a number on it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I've been, you know, I've had the rental properties now for 4 or 5 years. I've got most of the tools I need, but every once in a while he does have something, you know, that I need, or vice versa.
So do you have a separate company established for your rental
Yeah.
company? I know he's got a rental company property, is that correct? So are two completely separate
Yeah,
entities?
you don't do business with family.
Trust me, I understand that too. What's the name of your business?
It was Houck Properties, but it no longer exists. I dissolved it
Okay.
in 2014.
So just kind of doing it on your own?
Yeah, I just decided I didn't need the LLC. I mean, just extra money for nothing the way I saw it. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not expecting to get sued or anything, so.
Sure. And your brother, what's the name of his business?
Houck Rentals.
Okay. How many rental properties do you think he's got?
I'm gonna guess between 80 and 100. And he builds full time also.
So is he a framer, or is he
He's in everything.
everything? So he's your all-purpose man then?
He is.
What does he do something more than, does he do one thing more than another? Like, does he frame more than anything else? Does he roof more than anything
I
else?
mean, he's just into all of it. I mean, he jumps right there and helps whoever's out there. I mean, obviously he has, you know, certain guys come in to do like the plumbing and electric stuff like
Sure.
that are licensed,
Sure.
but I mean, he's in there, he gets his hands dirty.
Okay. So is he building for himself for the rental company, or is he building?
No, usually he sells the houses that he builds.
So he's what do they call that?
Slumlord?
No, not a slumlord, but there's you build a spec house.
Yeah.
Spec city.
He's building houses $150,000 and up now,
Okay.
custom homes.
Good point, Helen. Good angle.
So you saying it may be one, you know, just a handful of times a year. It could be more than that. Just depends on what your situation is. Okay. And did you, in the times that you did see Crystal, I mean, did you ever have any conversation with her? Or?
No, I mean, I never had any issues with Crystal, but I wasn't around her that much. I mean, she seemed like a pretty easygoing person to me.
Okay. Do you know any of her family?
No, I don't.
What about your nephew? Do you spend time with him, or?
I wish I could say yes. I mean, I don't really see him much.
Okay. Well, now, didn't your brother run for sheriff, I guess, last election? How did he have time to run a campaign?
I don't have any idea what he was thinking or anything. I guess he thought he was really good at building. He had a lot of success there, and he thought he'd transition into the law enforcement, but I told him don't do it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
How'd it turn out?
not good.
politics is.
Okay, let's not pass over this little conversation. Again, it's a little quiet for some if you can't hear very well. I have no control over this, the audio that I'm replaying for you. It has nothing to do with anything on my end. But what you might want to do is put in a headset or put it on a Bluetooth speaker because it's pretty clear in for me then. So there are similarities in the way, and I mentioned, listen to when Nick casually mentioned some of his colleagues, police officers. Jason was also murdered. They haven't arrested anyone for that yet. And a lot of people are speculating about that. I'm not going to get into it right now. But there are similarities in the way both Jason was murdered and Tommy, Crystal's dad, were murdered. They were considered to be shot by somebody who really was adept, even maybe a sharpshooter, somebody who really knew what they were doing, probably in camouflage and that kind of thing. There's some really interesting things here. And then I forgot what he just mentioned because what did he just mention? I was going to comment on that before it passed, and then I started talking about something else. I'm a little slow still. Let me go back one sec.
Police is one thing, politics is another. So.
Oh yeah, so they're asking. Sorry about that, you guys. Bear with me. Appreciate your patience. They're asking Nick what made his brother Brooks want to run for sheriff of Bardstown. He has no law enforcement background. He's, by all accounts, super busy with his business. He's making a lot of money. Why would he want to have done that? Well, did it have something to do with the potential suspects that they might have, or future arrests for Jason's murder or Tommy's or any of this? So why would he have wanted to run for sheriff with all this going on? So this is a really good question. So here's Mr. has an answer for it all answering.
Why did he decide to run for sheriff? Did he ever say?
He never said it. I guess he thought he could. I don't know if he planned on continue building and then also be sheriff. I don't know what he was thinking. But I tried to talk some sense into him, and I guess it went in one ear and out the other one. So
gotcha.
Why did he want to run for sheriff? I think the most people who would want to run for sheriff would say, because I want to improve law enforcement in our town. I want to do something about cleaning up the drug problem or the violence problem or something like that. He's just like, I don't know. He just wanted to do it. Like it was a side business with his building business. Really, just very superficial answer. And it really says a lot about this guy, because you would think running for sheriff, you would have some pretty, moral reasons or things like that.
If you would have won sheriff, you think you'd made you as chief deputy?
I wouldn't work for him.
You wouldn't work for him?
I'm happy with the PD. No reason to leave.
How long have you been to PD?
I was with Lebanon for about a year and a half. I think I've been here for about 8.5, 9, something like that.
Okay. What year did you come on in Lebanon?
2005.
Okay. You said you was Lebanon for a year and a half?
Mm-hmm.
What made you come here to Bardstown?
This is just where I was from. More money, better benefits. I mean, I started out at $7.80 an hour.
So again, he's asking, why did you, because he evidently Nick had moved away from Bardstown. He was a police officer, someone else. And he just came back a year and a half prior, which is also very strange because then all this stuff started happening when he came back. And the first thing he mentions is how much money he was making per hour. I mean, I don't know. I don't personally know anyone who's a police officer, but I would think that most police officers would tell you they had some kind of a calling. They wouldn't immediately go to how much money they were earning. Very superficial, very, very telling to me personally. I'd like to know what you guys think.
And I went to $15 an hour, whatever it was when I started here, so.
It's that's a doubly long.
Yeah.
It's not double your salary.
Mhm.
And, any trouble since you've been to PD with anybody? Everybody get along pretty good?
For the most part. I mean, obviously, a bunch of officers with type A personalities. I mean, you're gonna have a few conflicts. But
Sure. You never had any conflict with anybody specifically or anything like that? What shift?
So now they're asking, this is interesting. He must be on their radar about Jason's murder because he's asking, because what would this have to do with anything with Crystal Rogers? Do you get along with everybody that you work with? Do you have any conflicts with anyone? Interesting.
You working right now?
First shift.
How long have you been on that shift?
Just changed it not too long. We went to 12-hour shifts. It's probably been in the neighborhood 4 to 6 months, maybe.
What were you on before that?
I was working 4 to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Who were the guys that you worked with on that shift?
Who were the guys on that shift? It was me. Jason Ellis was on that shift. See, Andrew was on third. Nathan Phillips, I believe, was on second. Michael Medley. I can't remember who else was on the shift. It seems like it runs together now. I worked with all of them at some point or another. You know. But there was 5 or 6 of us on that shift, so.
When's the last time that you had seen Crystal?
I'm sure it was sometime I seen her just driving around out on the road, but I don't really remember where I was at or so.
So you knew her enough to know where her car was?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What kind of car she drive?
A maroon Impala.
Okay.
She lived with your brother at the Glenview address.
She did.
I just want to say I really like the tone and the tenor of this interview so far. These police officers, detectives, I'm not exactly sure, investigators, I'm not sure what their titles are, so I hope I'm not dissing anyone. But I really feel like they're calm and they have a plan and maybe they're really on their doing their very best because it's a police officer, but I just really like their vibe, and I think they're doing a great job so far. Sometimes interrogators, I don't know, are you guys watching? Are you watching the trial of Michelle Troconis by any chance? Because she was interrogated 3 times, and her interrogations came up almost in full as evidence and were played during her trial, and those cops just bungled. They even admitted that they did. They were speaking over each other, pressuring her, confusing her, and that kind of thing. Wow. So thanks, Dave. Okay. So Dave, we're still talking about the salary. It seems like an awfully low salary for a police officer. Tennis girl, that Michelle Troconis trial is slow as molasses. And I don't know why people are faulting the defense, because it's the prosecution that is just dragging it out. If I were a juror, and again, I am a potential juror right on this channel, I would be bored. I would be so annoyed. I wouldn't just be bored. I would be annoyed with this prosecution because of them dragging it out. But I think the defense had about 2 days and maybe a few hours, and then they rested. So they're going to discuss all of the instructions and whatnot tomorrow, and the jury will get their closing arguments on Tuesday and go into deliberations. So the only way I could watch it is on some fast speed, and I didn't watch it, listen, skipping through the commercial, the breaks and all of that. So, all right. And Tennis Girl says, I think it's the judge and the prosecution not helping. Yeah, the judge is on my everlasting nerve. I know I love people love that judge. I'm not a fan of the way he does things. Like, the lawyers are not providing an objection with grounds. He provides that. He restates their questions for them. It's just so odd. It's just an odd way of doing things. I've never seen it before. Helen says, I'm not sure why I'm not into that. Maybe if Foden right. If Fotis, right. And they didn't even really prove that Fotis, the whole thing is just, I mean, Michelle Troconis is on trial for conspiring to murder with Fotis, who's dead. He committed suicide so that he wouldn't have to face these charges. And so they kind of had to show that he murdered her. He murdered Jennifer Dulos, but then show the conspiracy. But I don't think they've shown really either. Oh, good tennis girl. I'm so oh, thank you. I thought it was just me, and I don't want to say too much about it online because I don't want to get jumped. But yeah, he's strange. I think he likes to hear himself talk, quite frankly. Strange.
And was she way back when she saw you?
Oh, yeah, she saw me. She, you know,
I mean,
she probably would recognize me in the truck, but I was out in the cruiser, and usually she'd see me.
So how often would you see her out on the road? I mean, was it obviously more often than you saw her in person, but
Probably maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
okay.
So last time you remember seeing her, she was in a car driving around.
That's what I'm assuming. I'm not 100%, but I'm almost certain.
Okay. The last time that you actually were physically in the same room with her, when was that?
It's been a long time ago. I don't really remember.
We're talking Christmas, Thanksgiving, before that, after that.
Could have been Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Okay. I mean, what did she talk about? Anything specific? Anybody in specific?
I don't remember that. I can't even remember what I did 2 days ago. You know, I really.
Okay. So you said your brother and her seemed happy.
For the most part, they did.
Okay. I mean, for the most part, you said. What about?
Well, there's one example I can think of. You know, there's been times when Brooks said that, I think sometimes she complained that, maybe he treated his son better than her kids or something like that. But that's about the only thing that stands out.
But nothing that like was seriously straining the relationship.
Okay, now this is going to come up over and over again. So I kind of wonder if this was planned or rehearsed, because they can't just go. They probably knew they couldn't say, "Oh yeah, everything was perfect, everything was hunky dory, everything was great," because first of all, there's always going to be some contention in any relationship. But every single person named the one thing that, there might have been a problem with this one thing, and that was that Brooks didn't treat her children as well as he treated his children from a previous relationship or marriage. I'm not sure which. So this is what he brings up. And that was Crystal's main complaint. That was their bone of contention. But it's kind of interesting that everyone says the same thing. So I wonder if it's rehearsed or planned ahead of time.
Okay, so you said the last time you saw her was within the last
Couple weeks, maybe.
last couple of weeks. Did she have a job?
I think at one time she worked at the fast food mart on Bluefield Road, but that's been some time ago.
Okay. Since then, I mean, do you know where she's working at, or does she have a job?
I'm not even sure.
Did she help Brooks out on with the rental properties, or?
I don't know anything about that.
And when you would get together, as just you and her and Brooks, or a bigger part of the family, where would you all get together at?
Yeah, I don't know that we ever really got together. I mean, obviously she's been over at Mom's house, and I've seen her out there, but I mean that's been a while back.
Okay.
We really didn't get together.
Okay. Now,
Is your mom's house down? Is it about y'all's family farm?
Past Ballard Road.
Okay.
Now, this is a really tight family, so I just find this interesting. I'm not saying he's lying about this, but I just find it odd that they don't get together, that he's too busy for holidays. They, very few times he names when they are. He's kind of vague about when they get together. I mean, of all things, I don't know why you would want to hold back on that, especially if you're contending, putting forward that you're such a close family, and by all accounts they are.
I think I went up there the other day. There's a black barn kind of thing.
It's called the Skid House.
Okay. Was there a sawmill in there one time? I saw the saw cedar.
My grandfather, he did. He had a sawmill.
I saw sitting there, so there's gotta be a portable mill here somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
My grandfather, he died when I was like 86 or 7, so I mean, it's been
a long time.
yeah, that's been a long
okay. Yeah, that had nothing to do with case, I just my own person, because I love to see her,
time.
so.
So you don't remember the last time that you'd seen Crystal. How about, when did you find out Crystal was missing? When do you remember finding out?
Within a couple of days.
How did you find out?
I don't know if I saw it on TV or. Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I don't know if Brooks had mentioned it or I saw it on TV. It was all over Facebook and everything. You know, it's everywhere. It's on national news.
I mean, this is for all intents and purposes your sister-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
and she's missing. I mean, do you and your brother just not talk to that extent that, you know,
That's kind of bad, isn't it?
I mean, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
But he never called you.
Here again. Okay, now this is just not plausible. She goes missing and no one from the family calls him. And by the way, I don't want to get into it, but there's all kinds of collaboration between all the family members that comes out later. So we know that can't be true. And he's saying, oh, yeah, I saw it on the news. Again, this is a close-knit family. He was very close with his brother, probably still is. And he's saying, I don't even remember when I found out. Like, it's so unimportant to them. Find that hard to believe. I really do.
Told you she was missing, or
no.
nobody else in your family called and told you that she was missing?
call and ask, have you seen her?
Yeah.
Was it unusual for her to take off like that? Or?
I know Brooks said she would take off to her, I think her mom's before, but, you know, I didn't know anything about that either. So.
I mean, I know when you get the baby monitor, I mean, you try to stay out of it, but I mean, you would think if he was really, you know, concerned that he would, hey, my brother's a police officer, he knows what to do, let me call him and see what's going on.
Yeah, it's not like that.
Okay. So you don't know how you found out she was missing, whether it was from Facebook or TV or if he mentioned it.
No.
I mean,
I thought, you know, I had several people that watched, you know, talk to me about it. So, like I said, it's ran together at this point.
sure. I mean, has he talked to you about it a lot, or?
Very little, if anything, you know. I mean,
Like, I mean, what's he said?
I don't know if he said much of anything. I mean, obviously, I'm not really gonna bring it up to him because I mean, I know him. We all know he's a good guy and that he wouldn't have anything to do with something like this. So,
Sure.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and question him about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just feel like I know for sure that he had nothing to do with her disappearance or whatever. And I mean, that's just where I'm at.
Sure. But I mean, you kind of see the flip side of that coin too, don't you? That if he's really concerned about her coming home, he might be talking, you know, man, we got to do something to find her. We got to do this. We got to do that.
Yeah.
But he's never mentioned anything like that to you. No. What's been the one thing he's mentioned to you the most during this whole thing?
That stands out.
That stands out. So she goes, and I'm kind of working third party here, so forgive me, and you may have a better idea on the timeline. Friday night the 3rd, I think, was the last time that anybody said they saw her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where was that at? Do you know?
I think somebody said it was Walmart.
Okay. So obviously she gets reported missing on the 5th, is that right?
Yes, the Saturday. Or not, yeah.
She goes missing on
Sunday,
Friday.
Sunday.
Saturday's the 4th. Sunday's the 5th. Yeah. So that's when she gets reported missing.
Mm-hmm.
And he never called you for any advice on what to do.
No,
Okay. I mean, would that be unusual?
I don't think so.
When did he ever call you after he reported her missing?
I'm sure at some point he's called. I mean, I don't really remember what he asked about, but
Okay.
Like, was that before? Do you remember when he was interviewed?
oh yeah,
When was that?
about a few days after the fact. I mean,
Like a few days after what?
a few days after everything came out, and the SO started interviewing.
Did you make a phone call to him when the SO was interviewing him?
Yes, I did.
Matter of fact, I think it was a couple phone calls.
Okay, so now this is when they're going to question him about that infamous phone call that we heard. This was Nick who was calling Brooks while Brooks was being interrogated. And he claims that, they didn't talk about it after his interrogation for a couple of days. And then they're going to ask him, well, do you remember calling him during the interrogation? Of course, he does say yes on that. They, of course, know that.
Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And, kind of got a little spat on the phone, or it seemed like that to
Yeah.
some people. What'd you call
Well,
it?
just basically, Brooks is a really cooperative guy, and, obviously at this point, you want to be cooperative, but you also want to protect yourself. And I think at a time like this right here, obviously you wouldn't be thinking exactly straight. So I just wanted to make sure that he was kind of, protecting himself while that he cooperated with law enforcement. And so I didn't want
Now, have you heard the volume of his voice raise much higher just there? He's been really quiet, kind of mumbly almost. Boy, did his volume go up there.
him to, it's just easy to get things confused and stuff, and, so.
Well, you said yourself, he's a cooperative guy and you trust him, and to know that he's not involved in this, then what reservations would you have about him talking?
Well, for one, the guy that's interviewing him has openly admitted that he lies in court.
Okay.
So, that kind of bothered me a little bit that John was doing it, but, that's just the way it is,
You know what, we can't pick and choose what calls we get.
most
so,
definitely.
yeah.
What do you think about your brother? He took a polygraph, did he?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the results
I
of the polygraph?
don't think they would have passed him no matter what, I think he went up there and did well, and I think that's just what they said,
Well, why would you say that it wouldn't matter?
Yeah, it just seems like it doesn't matter what he does or says, everybody's kind of like pointing the finger at him. Actually, that would be natural, but,
Sure.
it's just, at this point, it doesn't matter what he does, he looks like the bad one, so that's the reason why I feel like I do.
Well, and that's one of the things we did. We called and checked with our polygraphers because, I don't know what experience you've had with them.
None,
We use them all the time.
And I'd put them up against any of them in the country. They're that good.
Yeah.
And they work for the state police. They don't work for me. They don't work for you guys here. They don't work for the sheriff's department. They don't have any interest in these cases except to run the polygraph. That's all that their interest is.
But, just some feedback from them, and, it is what it is. It was inconclusive. So,
Yeah. I don't know, I've never even heard of one being inconclusive like that.
Either pass or fail,
But again, I don't know nothing about them, so
Sure.
that doesn't surprise me.
sure. Well, me and him both could.
Okay, so, and I don't remember this. It just could be my memory because of everything that I have going on, but they're referring to Brooks' polygraph test. And they might have mentioned that at the very beginning of the interrogation, and it spread out over several weeks because of my not being able to come back on. But they said it was inconclusive because this is a cop, and he's saying I've never heard of it of a polygraph test being inconclusive, which also doesn't quite sound realistic.
I can tell you, we've learned a lot more about the polygraph in the last 4 or 5 years than we ever thought we would.
So you talked to him on that day that he was having an interview, or you called him.
I think I called him once. I think the task force guy said his phone, and then at some point, I guess I gave him the phone back, and then I got hold of him. But he'd been up for several hours. It wasn't like I just interrupted right from the very beginning. I thought, what the hell are they doing? I'm asking the same questions over and over. What are these guys doing?
How did you know he'd been up here for several hours?
I guess I think he called me.
Okay, so he called you before and said, "Hey, I'm going to the PD. I'm getting ready to get
Yeah, I
interviewed."
think,
And what did you tell him at that point?
I said, we're going to be cooperative, say what you mean what you say, and just, do the best you can.
And what did you say to him after when you said he'd been here for a couple hours? What was?
Okay, now he's saying he told him to be cooperative, say what you mean what you say. And I don't know if you remember, but during Brooks' interview, he's saying, I say what I mean and I mean what I say multiple times. So no doubt they practiced a little before. Of course, he's acting like it was no big deal. He knew he was coming in, but not trying not to show his hand that they actually probably rehearsed a lot. And no doubt he had a legal advice before he went in, which he should. In fact, he should have had a lawyer with him, but absolutely you could tell from Brooks' answers that he had legal language. He was fumbling it up a little bit, but he was definitely had consulted a lawyer and no doubt his brother, who's a cop.
I just asked him, I said, what the hell's going on up there? They're asking the same questions over and over, trying to trip you up. What's the deal? And he said he was given a detailed statement or whatever. I said, well, that's fine, just, at a time like this, things are spinning, just, you got to protect yourself while you cooperate. Just kind of.
Did you ever tell him to leave?
No, I didn't tell him to leave the interview.
Did you ever tell him to seek legal counsel before talking to the police again?
No.
So you didn't tell him you need to get out of there, or you don't trust these folks up here?
No, I said go ahead and finish your narrative, whatever it is, your written statement that you're giving them, but just just watch what you're doing. Be sure you're thinking clearly and cooperate along with it.
I guess the conundrum I'm kind of having in my own head, because like I said, we're coming at this from the outside. you know, we don't have a vested interest in it really one way or the other because it's, you know, not our baby. But, you know, if he's to the point that you're worried about him thinking straight, don't you think he would be talking about it more to you or to your family members about, you know, well, I wonder where she's at, I wonder what happened?
Yeah, I think people deal with problems different ways. I mean, I can psychoanalyze it.
Sure.
But just different people handle things different.
And is this typically how he handles a stressful situation? You've been brothers for some years now, so.
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't ran across another situation like this, you know. I mean, I don't know anything to compare it to.
Well, I mean, you know, say for example, he's got, you know, 3 rental properties that need this, and this done. He's got 2 houses he's got to get put up, or something's got to get done that week. How does he handle that stress? I mean, does he just go forward? Does he crumple up like a piece of paper?
Well, he's got 100,000. What do you think? He goes forward.
Yeah. Okay. And you know, Katie barred the doors. We're getting this done. Is that pretty much how he? You know, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Is that
I think he tries to do the best he can. If he can, he just goes on. I mean, obviously his stress level's going to be up, you know, with all the rental properties and everything. But I mean, he's been pretty successful. So.
Sure.
But I'm not right there walking along with him, so I can't really testify as to what he's actually doing from day to day.
Okay. So you all have said you've been out to the farm and do y'all go out there together to work, or do you?
Hardly ever. I mean, he does his thing and I do mine.
Okay.
There's a big lake out there we fish at. We got 4-wheelers. It was just a place to go to and relax. And
How many acres is it?
250 to 300 maybe.
Been in the family for a long time, or?
Yeah. And my grandfather, I don't know what year he bought it, but I mean, it would have had to have been probably 50s or 60s, something like that.
Wow. It's been in the family for a long time then.
Mm-hmm.
So when, I know you said you get the skid house, is that what you called it?
That's what, but I mean, he builds skids for a living, so
Okay.
that's what they stored them in.
Gotcha.
We just kind of adopted the name, and
Okay. I mean, do each of you have your own area out there, or is it all his? Is it all?
I mean, we all use it, but I mean, it's his place, you know,
Okay.
his and mom's.
But I mean, do you have like is it just communal tools and tractors and things like that, or do you have like these are Nick's tools, these are Brooks' tools?
No,
Okay.
no.
I didn't know how, you know, some people have like their own individual sections of things.
How come he owns it with your mom?
I don't know that he owns it with mom. I don't
You
know
say
if it's in mom. I don't know if it's. I thought it was in mom's name, but he's the one that bought. I don't even get into that, you know. I think it's in mom's name though.
So I mean, it's yours just as much as his, right?
Well, no, I mean, I think he paid for it. So I mean, really, it's in mom's name. He paid for it. It's kind of a messed up deal, but no.
So if it's been the family since the 50s, how would he have paid for it? Did he buy?
He bought it. There's 12 or 13 brothers and sisters,
Oh,
and they sold the farm, and he bought it.
okay.
Okay, so he bought out the rest of the family.
Yeah,
Okay.
he bought it.
Gotcha.
Okay, so when Grandpa passed, I guess, is that when that all happened, or was it before?
Oh no, grandpa passed when I was like 5 or 6.
Okay.
Then my grandmother just died, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Okay. So when she passed, then that's when
Yes.
he bought out the other brothers and
Mhm.
sisters.
So when was the last time I guess you and him were out there together?
We've been out there within the last couple weeks, you know. I mean, we run into each other out there, you know. I mean, he takes stuff out there. You know, he's got a pile of stuff out there that, you know, from his building sites, he'll pile it up out there and say take it to the landfill. And I guess we're too tight to pay the landfill bill, you know. But we run into each other. But we're both so busy, we just kind of pass, you know.
Well, you said within the last couple of weeks, would it have been before or after Crystal went missing?
I've seen him out there after.
After?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it, do you specifically remember what day?
I don't. There's a camera out there. I mean, you know, it can be checked.
And do you drive your cruiser out there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So it's not uncommon for you to drive it out there?
No, I use cruiser all the time. He wants to, you know, he wants us to use them off duty. That way, it just kind of provides deterrence, and he loves that.
Yep. Be seen. Oh, there's police everywhere. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a kind of the same mentality we have from our commissioners. So, I mean, when you drive the cruiser out there, what are you going out there to do? Just hang out, or?
Just ride the 4-wheelers, hike.
So you're not going out there to hook a trail or anything, but back your cruiser, tow back into town? All right, so you said within the last couple of weeks, and it was, so we could say in the last week. Today's the 15th, and she was last seen on the 3rd, so between the 3rd and 15th.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You've been out there with him. I mean, did you go out there together? Did you meet him out there?
No, he was just having to be out there.
Okay. I mean, did you talk to your mom? Were you at her house? Did you go out fishing? Did you go out
Yeah,
check on cattle? What'd you do?
4-wheeler riding and cattle. I mean, I saw mom. I don't really remember what we talked about, you know, but we just more or less passed off. So, I mean, I don't always stop at the house.
When you talked about, you said there's cameras out there. What are you talking about?
Well, they said there's one right there, Patty Lawrence's house. I mean, right as soon as you start at past Ballard Lane, you know, the first house on the right, there's a camera on that house.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant on the farm.
No.
Okay. I guess, I mean, it's no secret that your cruiser was, the chief asked you to bring it in.
Yeah. He didn't ask me to bring anything to my house.
Okay. When, what do you normally keep in your trunk? What's a normal duty setup? Like, I know ours looks like, you know.
So he says it's no secret that your cruiser basically was seen on the video, and Nick answers with, "Oh well, I didn't bring anything into the house," or something like that. So now here gets into some other interesting findings that you may or may not know about.
You know, evident
Oh,
store exploded in our trunk.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I've got a cardboard box back there. I mean, it's got, you know, say it's got a flashlight. So we're obviously portable flashlights in the car. There's many forms. There's a PVT, fire extinguisher. There's a department issue shotgun in the car. There's a bag up front with all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in those cars.
You generally keep all that stuff in your trunk all the time.
Some of it's in the trunk, some of it's up front in the seat. You know, all the forms I use every day would be up front. You know, I've got something that attaches to the passenger seat, and it's got all the forms, action report forms, and all the stuff I use every day.
You take that car home with you. It's a take-home car.
Yeah,
Nobody else uses it unless
Yeah.
something was to come up.
The only other person that's used that car is Tom Blair. It was issued to him first, and then it was passed down to me. But that's been a while back.
Yeah. How long has that been?
That's been a couple of years.
So you've been the only one that's driven it in the last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
Do you have stop sticks or anything, stingers?
I don't. I mean, that is some units do.
So what you keep in the trunk is a cardboard box with some extra stuff in it, fire extinguisher,
Hats, just rain jackets.
hats, rain jackets.
I mean, I can sit here and try to tell you every item. I probably pick them up with half of them.
When they took your car, when the PD took your car from your house, what was in the trunk then?
Well, it's this morning grand jury came up with just all the stuff I just told you. But there was also one other thing I remember was there was just a regular blanket for moving. You know, where I moved from 104 and then you drive to where I'm at now, I took the blanket that was there and I just put it between furniture to keep it from marring up the furniture, you know, the finish on it. So it went down the road and it's just going to jingle around. And
Okay, and I'm not sure if you caught this also, but they referred to him, the grand jury, already. So by July 15th, he had already testified in front of the grand jury.
In the trunk of your cruiser? You had furniture in the trunk?
no, I didn't. No, what I did, I got the blanket at the farm. I used it, and then I was going to take it back in a few days. I forgot about it, so it's sitting there in the trunk, you know. But no, I used my trailer and truck.
Okay. So instead of putting it in the truck, you put it in the trunk of the cruiser, though.
Yeah, I was going to return it back out there, so I just put it in the trunk, and then when I was out there, I was just going to return it where I found it.
You just not never get around to it.
I didn't.
Where you said you got it from the farm? Where specifically did you get it from?
The skid house. There's several of them down there.
Where at specifically in the skid house?
And when you walk in the front door, right there on the right hand side.
Do the other blankets look just like that blanket?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I mean, it'd be easy to say, look, there's still two blankets here. That's the same blanket. That's what was there.
I think so.
Now,
Were all those things in your trunk when they took the car,
Mhm.
other than the blanket? So
But
nothing was missing out of your trunk as far as your fire extinguisher. It was in there.
Everything was in there with the blanket.
So everything was in your trunk, just like you carry it when you go to work, except the blanket was in there with it.
Yeah.
so do you remember going out to the farm even July the 8th?
I don't, but I've very easily been out there.
That was incidentally the same night that your brother was, I think the same night your brother was interviewed by police.
Yeah, Wednesday, July 8th. You said there was cameras out there on that house.
Mm-hmm.
What if the cameras would have caught your car following Brooks on the way out to the?
Wouldn't surprise me.
But you said
Wouldn't surprise me. Okay, now up until now, he's talked about when they go to the farm, they might run into each other. They might not even talk when they're out there. They don't plan to meet there, any of that. Now all of a sudden it's like you followed him right in. It's on video, and then he says, "Okay, that wouldn't surprise me." All casual. He's acting like he's just so calm. And casual about this.
generally, you would just go out to the farm and you would just meet him there. On this occasion, both.
Well, usually I don't meet him there. I mean, he's just out there doing his own thing, and then I go out there and do my own thing. I mean,
if that's what happened that night, it would have been just perfect timing that you were following right behind him, that you just so happened to meet him at the farm.
I see what you're saying.
So think back. Was there a time that you all both went out there at the same time for a specific reason?
Not that I recall.
So it just would have been coincidence that your car was following right behind his truck when it passed by that camera going to the farm.
Yeah, that's happened before.
So this night in particular,
It's happened before. Okay, again, so earlier he said no, they never go out there at the same time. If they do, they hardly see each other. It's not at the same time. Now he's saying it's happened before where we actually pull in at the exact same time. So it's not so much of a coincidence. So he's backtracking here.
it would have been, you would have left after dark. Y'all came together and you would have left after dark. Do you remember that night?
Easily could have.
Okay. I mean, do you remember it?
No, really, I don't.
Do you remember, were you all in the skid house? Were you at your mom's talking?
No, I mean, I can't even remember what he was doing. I mean, it was the 8th, it's the 15th, I don't.
I mean, do you remember being out there with him at the farm that evening?
I think I remember seeing him out there.
Okay, so you didn't,
And then-
you're saying you didn't intentionally follow him out there? And did you all leave, do you remember leaving together?
Mm-mm.
Why did
So I remember seeing him out there, but he drove in with him, like literally right behind him. They drove in together. And now he's just saying, I remember seeing him out there. Yeah, he's kind of doing some chin jutting there and some really prideful, like he's really stubbornly sticking to it here. You can tell from his facial expression.
did he leave earlier or you leave earlier? Do you remember?
I don't have any idea.
Did you leave first or did he leave first?
I don't know.
But you remember, I mean, it's just been a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Driving down past Ballard, your car behind his truck. I mean, you got to turn in the farm there. You remember? Can you go back and put that in your head? Just driving down that road and you see your brother in front of you. What happened after that?
I can't.
Let's go back. You remember talking to your brother on the phone when he was up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do after you got off the phone with him?
I really don't know.
Do you smoke?
No.
Chew tobacco?
No.
Drink?
Nope. No.
Drink coffee?
No.
You don't have any fun, do you?
What's that? Not much.
Working all the time, like, I understand that completely. So it would possible that y'all were out at the farm together that night. You just don't remember.
You saying the 8th?
Yeah.
Could have been.
Did you work on the 8th? Last Wednesday. Do you work on Wednesdays?
What day did you take the car? Because I haven't been
It
to
was on
one
Thursday the 9th.
I don't think if I was at the farm on Wednesday, I couldn't have worked.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So what days are you generally off?
Let's see. So like one week I'll be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come back Monday. Work Tuesday, off Wednesday.
Okay.
Work Thursday, Friday. It's hard to keep up with.
Sure.
I mean, it's a mess.
Well, how do you keep up with it?
I've got to schedule at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to leave my schedule still today, even 5-6 months later.
Now, what's your normal shift time is?
7 o'clock.
So say if y'all went out to the farm 8:30.
Well, then I could have swung that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say that if you were driving your cruiser out to the farm, you weren't working
Almost definitely.
because you don't leave the city to go out to the farm while you're working, right?
I wouldn't do that.
Okay, so you wouldn't do that. So you would have been off. That was, remember back, that was the same day that he was up here being interviewed. Okay, it would have been Wednesday. If he was up here interviewed, you had phone conversations with him before he came up here. He told you he was coming up here, and then after a couple hours, you called, checked on him, told him to protect himself, whatever it was, the conversation that you had. And then after that phone call, within 2 hours, both of y'all were driving to the farm on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we know all that. There's no debate about that. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to know is why y'all both went down to the farm. Because I know it's going to be hard for you to remember a week ago, but I can remember a week ago if I'm thinking about a conversation I had with my brother and something like this going on. This doesn't go on all the time. So, I mean, we're going to call it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
Is it you don't want to remember or can you remember?
I can't remember.
Okay. Because this is what's happened. You made a phone call. He was up here within 2 hours of him leaving here. Both of y'all were on the road on the way to the farm, and the camera shows that.
Mm-hmm.
Time and date stamp. Phone call. Time and date stamp. You're out there. What went on while you're out there at the farm?
Yeah, if I do, I'd tell you. I mean, I wish I could give you a detailed written statement. I don't know.
Just kind of jump back to the cruiser here for a minute. Is there any reason that there be any blood in the trunk of your cruiser?
No reason at all.
So you don't transport any biological evidence on a regular basis? When was the last scene that you had somebody that was bleeding? How long has it been?
I mean, I'm sure it's maybe a wreck or something like that. That's been a long time ago.
Okay. I mean,
I can tell you, there's no blood in front of my cruiser. I can guarantee you that.
Now, what about on anything that was in your trunk? Would there have been blood on anything that was in your trunk?
There's no way. Absolutely none.
Now, what about the blanket that was in your trunk?
No way.
So he's very sure about those things because obviously he knows actually what did happen, and they didn't transport her in his cruiser evidently because he seems very confident about it. But he can't remember what he did with his brother right after the police interrogation less than a week ago. And yes, and this was the part I wanted to get to before I close up shop tonight. Okay.
And you picked up that blanket when?
Don't know exactly. It was
Estimate.
2, 3, 4 days after, they found the missing person report.
See, they weren't going to go with, he says, I don't know exactly. They weren't going to let him this time. He says immediately, estimate. I don't know if you guys caught that. It was like, estimate. He was not going to stand for the, I don't know, business again.
Okay. So a couple days after they filed the missing persons reports, when you picked up that blanket, used it to haul the stuff and put it back into your cruiser.
I think so.
So that would have been, how many days you think the blanket was in your cruiser trunk before Thursday when they took your cruiser?
And I hate to even put a number on it. I mean, I really don't know.
1, 2, 3, 10. How many things?
I'm not even put a number on it. Like I can't,
But you know for a fact that after they filed a missing persons report that you picked that blanket
I
up.
don't even know that for a fact.
Well, when did you move the furniture?
I've got a dozen rental properties. I've been moving stuff out of, the garage over there for 2 or 3 weeks now. I've got
the garage where?
104 Glenview Drive.
How long have you been out of 104 Glenview? You said
Just a few days.
Okay. Was there a certain day you had to be out of there about?
Mm-hmm.
What was that date?
July the. I was exactly.
Well, who gave you the date to get out?
The guy that bought it.
Okay, so there's paperwork that shows he takes possession of it on a certain day.
Mm-hmm.
How many days before that did you move that furniture out? We can reference that.
What furniture out now? Just all my furniture?
Whatever you use the blanket for.
I would say at least a few days before,
So a few is 2, maybe. Is that what you would term?
That's what I would guesstimate.
Okay, so say you had to be out by.
Okay, so he remembers those dates. He knows when his lease was up, when he had to move, all of those things, but he can't remember, like, oh, I just don't remember any of this other stuff. Yes, they're very similar styles. They're very much brothers. You can tell. You can definitely tell. Okay, and I'm not sure if there was blood or fluid or whatever they're saying was on the blanket or on the cruiser in the trunk area, or if they were just trying to get him to say something or get him to react.
July.
Which they did. They got him to say, oh, it absolutely couldn't be. So that was the rather decisive when he's been so indecisive about everything else. So we're going to go till it's almost 6 o'clock on the clock behind them.
9th. Then a few days before that or something like that.
It sounds good to me. I mean, I really don't know.
What was the guy's name that bought the property?
Mike Ballard.
Mike Ballard. Is there paperwork on that? Did you go through a realtor?
No, we got sold for sale by owner.
Okay. And did you do a contract or did you do a deed transfer?
Yeah, we had a contract on it.
Okay. You have a copy of the contract somewhere?
I do somewhere.
So there'll be some way we can reference
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Did you tell anybody that you were even the 8th year with your girlfriend all night and you didn't go anywhere?
Did I tell somebody I was with my girlfriend all night?
But you were home with your girlfriend all night on the evening of July the 8th. Didn't go anywhere.
Last Wednesday, really.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
Who have you talked to about this so far? I mean, obviously we're talking right now.
Okay, this is a good pause point. So it's, and I have to say this out loud so I remember, 5:55 p.m. on the clock in the interrogation room. And we've been on together for about an hour. So that's a good breaking point. We made it through more than half. So we'll be able to get through this. And then next time we get together, and then we can get on to his interrogation. I mean, excuse me, his reaction to the results of the lie detector test, which is really really fun, but I wanted to go in chronological order. So anyone have anything to say about this before we call it a wrap tonight? And by the way, I do want to call out the where I got this from. I don't know why I can't. I'm in full screen and I can't get out.
People, the grand jury.
That's the only other person.
Okay, I'm going to close it out and open it up some again so that we can see. It's the, oh gosh, I forgot the name of the I'm so sorry. The name of the Gazette that I got it from, and it's the same with this one. So it should show. Okay, here we go. This is loud. The Nelson County Gazette is where I got that video and the upcoming video. I like to shout out where my information is coming from that I'm sharing with you, because they're the ones who put the work in and got the files so that we can share them. And I really do like to support the local papers. So whenever I'm following a trial or a case or something like this, I will subscribe to the local paper. You know, usually you can subscribe like for a year, the first 6 to 12 months for $1, and then it's very affordable. So I like to do that to support all of the local papers that provide a lot of this this kind of thing for us. This also was, they mentioned WBRT radio, so they did this together. So, and especially for a small town like this, they really need, the local papers really need our support, and they work really hard, and they have great coverage. There was also an article I want to share a little bit from this before we go, and this is from WDRB, also local. And this is from an article back in October when Brooks was finally arrested. And the name of the article is Looking Back at Nick Houck's Failed Lie Detector Test in the Crystal Rogers Case. So this is what we're talking about tonight and next week and the next couple of weeks. So I'm just going to read parts of it. Louisville, Kentucky, WDRB, as Brooks Houck waits in jail on a $10 million bond for the murder of Crystal Rogers, his brother, Nick Houck, is being investigated for the murder of her father, Tommy Ballard. The special prosecutor in the Rogers case dropped a bombshell during Brooks Houck's arraignment in court. And this was in October, and we discussed this previously. This is just a reminder, or also to bring this up to people who might just be joining and getting interested in this case. But they're saying, and just by the way, Nick has not yet been arrested for the murder of Tommy Ballard, just so you know. In quotes, and this is from the prosecutor, one of the prosecutors, Special Prosecutor Shane Young, actually, we are waiting for testing to come back from the firearm, as we believe it was used to murder Tommy Ballard. The firearm that we purchased from Nicholas Houck who was using a fake name when he sold the rifle. So this was some undercover work that they did, and Nick sold it to an undercover officer. I can't remember if it was FBI or not, but we'll get more details about that if he ever gets arrested and brought to trial. And he sold it under a fake name, but of course they knew that. So, and he hasn't been charged with any of this. And then let's see. Then they go in this article, they go into these interviews that we're going through, including his reaction to the lie detector test. So I'll put a link to that in my community tab, under my community tab on our pages, on our YouTube page, so that you can see what I'm talking about and read the entire article. It's very interesting. Right, Ruth Ann? He hasn't been arrested yet. I know. Why couldn't he be arrested for that? I'm not sure what they're waiting. And this gives me the Adelson vibes. It's like, are they going to go for one at a time? It's just been so long. Crystal went missing in July of 2015. Tommy, her father, was murdered in November of 2016. It's been a long time. Hey, Mona. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you all. Okay. So, any final thoughts before we wrap it up tonight? I'm planning to come back Saturday next week. I don't normally come on Sundays, so just the way it worked out. I'm so glad you joined me. I'll put this article in the community pages and where I put other peripheral information. And, the Rust, thank you, Mona. The Rust trial is really interesting to me. I really like both the prosecutors and the defense attorneys. So far, there have been two that have had questions for witnesses. I like them very much. Super impressed. And if it's only in by 2 days, so if you're interested in catching up, GGPP. What's GGPP? GGPP? Oh, good. I'm glad Saturday will work. Okay. And thank you. You're very kind. It's good to feel a little bit more energetic. Yeah. And so what's GGPP, you guys? What did I miss? I probably should go back on the comments, but it's hard to scroll sometimes. It's not letting me scroll for some reason. In any case, super interested in that. Super interested in hearing closing arguments on the Michelle Troconis trial for conspiring to murder Jennifer Dulos, whose body has not yet been found. So I do not. What is the gorilla? But what is it? What are we talking about? Oh, Hannah's iPhone. Oh, I didn't notice. I did not pick up on that. I did tune out. Sometimes, I listen to a lot of trials and I'm always doing other things around my place or whatever. So I kind of listen to them sort of like podcasts. So sometimes I do tune out. That's funny. Oh, Hannah. I do like her new look. I do wonder why whoever is sitting next to her, I don't know if it's the paralegal that works for the office or whatever, but her makeup is so distracting to me. Just like, but Hannah looks great. I hope she sticks with that new look because she certainly looked like a mess with that purple and yellow hair and all that. And just hopefully she's cleaning up her act because she really clearly needed to after that. That would have been a really rude awakening if indeed it was sloppy. I'm still not so sure somebody didn't switch something up on her. It's still ultimately her responsibility, but I just think the production company in general, I've thought this all along, they were trying to cut corners. She was 22 years old. They had her doing 2 different jobs. My guess is she was making like minimum wage doing this because Hollywood is notorious for getting people who just want to work in the industry and taking advantage of them. And she was probably trying to, earn her stripes and all that. What a horrible, horrible awakening for her. Cleopatra. No, I meant, because of the eyeliner. Okay. Yes. What about the paralegal or whoever's sitting next to her with like the eyelashes that are like this long and all the eyebrows and all that? That's just it's so distracting to me. So who was uncomfortable? He was so uncomfortable. Not sure who that is. Tell me more. I want to know who's uncomfortable. Might be the crew of 6 that walked off this. Exactly, Mona. I mean, it's there's just so much reasonable doubt in there. It really is. And she clearly seemed shocked, and she seemed so shocked. And she was like, wait a minute. And she's trying to go through the cart and figure out what happened. Like, wait a minute, because clearly, I mean, I would have to believe, her father is a famous armory guy and armor. I forgot the name of the title, but she learned from him, and I don't know. She looked pretty stunned, as if something was not right. Well, it might have been disorganized, but a lot of times people who are disorganized, like my mother's like this, they know exactly where everything is and they know when something's been moved. So I get that. Armorer, thank you. Sorry. Not my field of expertise. So, the tech guy is GGPP. Okay. All right. So yeah, we'll see how the trial goes, but there's definitely in my mind already a lot of reasonable doubt. And I haven't looked into lots of information about this ahead of time, so I didn't come in with preconceived notions. I mean, if anything, I thought she looked like a hot mess and like she made a really bad mistake. But I'm really suspicious that the lawyer being there, the fact that the cops couldn't keep them separated and not talking was sad. I mean, honestly, have a woman do it. If I went in there with that situation and we had all that space and all those people where they said, oh, it was so chaotic, I would just say, everybody, this is a crime scene. Set your phones down on the ground. Do not touch them. Everybody stand 10 to 20 feet apart and do not talk to each other. Boom. I'd walk in saying that. And if anybody starts to get close or starts talking, then because you can see them if you did it that way, because they're saying, why didn't you put them in the cars? And why didn't you do this? That would have been very hard to manage. I don't know how many people were there, but they said there were so many people there. I would just say, stop everything, spread out by 10 to 20 feet. Do not get closer than 10 feet with one another. Do not speak to one another. Do not touch anything. Put your phones down. Sometimes having them on the phone is good because then it becomes evidence, like who did they call right away and that kind of thing. So, okay, so we're saying Cleopatra is the girl next to Hannah. Okay, yes. Okay, I thought you meant because Hannah has the eyeliner. Hannah looks great. Cleopatra, that would be a compliment to call her. It's just so much. You don't... like the little things in her hair, and it just doesn't seem like court attire to me. I know I'm being a prude. It doesn't matter as long as they're doing their job. I think the defense attorneys seem to be doing a great job, and I'm sure she's doing a great job too. So I shouldn't be a brat. But it's just distracting is all I meant. Do not pass go. All right. So yeah, I didn't know if I would be that interested, but I think ever since that happened, I was like, what on earth? How could this have happened? Why did they have live ammunition? I mean, many production companies don't even allow you to have live ammunition. And I think I don't know if it was Alec Baldwin or not, but they were saying, I think it was him saying, well, the reason to have live, it just helps them get into the character and all that kind of thing. But I mean, if you need live ammunition to get into character, I don't know, man. Because if they had live ammunition on all these sets with all these crazy violent films that are made day after day after day, there would be many more of these kind of accidents. It's just so sad. He just picked up this gun. I don't use a gun. I've never touched a gun. I can't even imagine picking one up and pointing it at someone, even if you thought it was empty. You just don't do that. So yeah, he is. He's being blamey and weird, and he was on the phone right away and pacing. And I mean, no doubt he felt badly that she was shot, but why would he have even pointed it at her? It wasn't even during a scene. It was just, yeah, I really do. If they're going to hold Hannah responsible, which, remains to be seen, at least they've charged her with it. So they are holding her responsible. Then they do need to with Baldwin, and he keeps having the case dropped and put back up. But now it looks like, I believe they said August of this year is when his trial is. So yeah, he should never have pointed a gun, Ruth Ann says, at anyone. Yeah, I would. And I don't know anything about guns, but I wouldn't trust that it isn't loaded, even if it's supposed to be dummy round or whatever those other ones, because some of those bullets can still be dangerous, especially at point blank range. He shot her right in the chest, like 5 feet away. Like, even if it was a dummy bullet or something, it could have caused damage. So yeah, it's just awful. All right. And how do we feel about Michelle Troconis? Do you think that the prosecution proved that she conspired? Because I don't see it. But I'm getting more and more on the side of the defense the more I go, because it has to be such a high standard for them to. I don't think she's the loveliest person and all of that, but I don't think they've proven any kind of conspiracy. They haven't shown any conspiracy. I don't get it. I don't get why they charged her with that. Maybe accessory after the fact or whatever is they're charged her with, as far as helping her, helping him throw the bags of evidence away. So Queen Olive, Ruth Ann, how do you feel the state showed that Michelle conspired to murder? I'm not talking about the other lesser charges, or the other charges, I should say, but how did she conspire with Fotis Dulos to murder? Where did they show that? How did she conspire? She might have destroyed evidence. She might have burned evidence, maybe. Okay. Answering the phone to help with his alibi, that was after she was already dead, though. That wasn't prior to her dying. That wasn't prior to her murder, her disappearance. So how did they show that she conspired before the murder? Because you would have to conspire before the murder. I mean, you could have a conspiracy to cover up and all that, but how did they prove that she knew ahead of time that he was doing this and that she helped him? Hey, Mona says she feels like they might want somebody in prison because the perpetrator is gone. I felt that way, and I felt that way with Jennifer Crumbly too, because Ethan pled guilty. They wanted a trial. I mean, and I do think there are other reasons for bringing her, but I felt that one was a little shaky too. So anything else, Ruth Ann? I'm so interested in hearing this, but because wouldn't the alibi, okay. She says, no, that was the morning she disappeared. Fotis was gone and she had to be there to answer his phone. I thought they were in the car together when that dude from Greece, you're talking about the dude from Greece who called with that weird cryptic meme kind of thing, right? I thought that was after. Okay, so did they show though that she had did they show that? Why did she answer his phone? It was just there. He wasn't there and she just picked it up. I mean, how does that show? I don't know what. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but that's not a law. Okay, so her answering the phone when it rang, when it was sitting on the table in the office because he left it behind, again, doesn't show that she was part of the planning of how to murder her, of murdering her, of kidnapping her, and all of that. It shows that he answered his phone. She answered his phone. Now, the guy in Greece should be arrested, in my opinion, because I think he's clearly in on it. I don't know why they can't get him, but that message he left was gross. Ugh, disgusting people. Mona, I was surprised about Crumbly too. Hopefully people will stop by. Yes, I do believe they made an example of her, and it's about time that but I do feel like there were other mass shootings by children where parents allowed access to guns by the child, and they knew that the child was violent and had mental illness, where I think with Crumbly, I just didn't feel like they really had, even the teachers didn't have an indication that he would do something like this. Teachers were like, I can't believe it. This is not who he was. So, yep. And Ruth Ann says she was surprised too. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think they'll probably give her a light sentence. And of course, there will be appeals and all that. But now the husband might be a little bit different story, because he actually went and bought the gun, and it did appear that he bought the gun specifically for Ethan to use. Tennis Girl said, I was surprised but not upset. Yeah, it's kind of how I felt too. She does get a light sentence. The point has been made. Right. That's a very, very well put. And Helen agrees. Yeah, I would agree. I would concur with that as well, for sure. I mean, I didn't feel really strongly one way or another. I can't even imagine having guns in the home with teenagers, especially teenage boys, teenagers with all their angst. Just not a great combination. Guns that aren't locked away and all that. I was not raised with guns. My dad wasn't a hunter or any of those things. So for me, it seems pretty bizarre that all these kids have access to guns like that. One of the things that I thought was really interesting about that trial was that the defense attorney brought out through one of the witnesses that it's very common for kids to pose for their yearbook pictures with guns. And I mean, you're just like, that's the culture. So that's kind of scary. And Tennis Girl says, I don't think parents are responsible for everything their kids do, but if you're going to have a gun around, you need to be responsible for controlling one or the other. That's right. That's a good way of putting it. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yep. It was an interesting one. I guess for me, wanted to see more evidence, just like the one with Michelle Troconis. Honestly, I'm wondering if I'm like pro defense now. Not really, but like, how would Jennifer have known that? Because for her to have been found guilty of those charges, the way they're written, the way the jury instructions were, they would have had to have evidence that she actually knew he might harm someone. The day of, with that drawing, that was kind of like, it wasn't like he was doing those drawings all the time, right? This was the first time he did it. And even the school was like, they just thought he was depressed. They didn't really think that much of it. So, and I'm not blaming the school either. I'm just saying it just seemed like an anomaly. He didn't have that kind of history, whereas some of these school shooters, these kids have quite the history of wanting to do harm and violence and that kind of thing. I liked the attorney. I thought she was a hot mess and I loved it. She wasn't afraid to be who she was. I don't love all of the people attacking, especially female attorneys, all the time. Like, they're supposed to be perfect. I thought she was kind of interesting to watch. Yeah. You think she lost the case, Tennis Girl? Possibly. It could be. I mean, there were a couple things she could have done better, but I thought she did some things really well. Kind of like the Columbo act, like he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's just like mumbling and scatterbrained, but he really does know what's going on. I kind of felt, I guess I hoped that that's what she was all about. Her faces were great. Her faces were really fun. She was fun to watch. Yeah. Yep. I just liked how real she was. and honest. I didn't love that judge. I'll tell you the truth. I think that, and it looks like this is going to be the same judge for the father, James Crumbly. So I'm not really looking for, unless they give him a change of venue, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea. So I didn't love that judge. That's another one who just, she operated the courtroom in a really very different way than what we're used to. Yeah, the mumbler, the soft talker. Exactly. Oh, yeah, so she people were praising her. Okay, I mostly saw criticism, but and I tend to stick up for people when they're being, especially women, when they're just being yeah, I mean, she was definitely interesting. Yeah, like on Seinfeld, the soft talker. Yeah, that judge. Speak up, lady. So then you turn it up, and then somebody starts going with a normal tone in your earphones, and you break out your eardrums. It's like these audio issues on some of these trials are pretty hard to deal with. So, all right. And Mona says there was a point early in the trial when two attorneys were arguing and the judge had zero control of her court. Exactly. Yeah, I didn't think she had much control. She treated them like she was having lunch with them and talking instead of being a judge. And that was a trip. That trial was a trip. If you haven't seen it yet, you can still replay it. I think it's worth watching. So, okay, guys. So how does next Saturday sound for you? Yeah, it looks like everyone's in agreement. She didn't have a lot of control over the courtroom. Yeah. Oof. She seemed tired. Like she just didn't want to be there, maybe depressed. To sum up with her. Yeah. Okay, so Saturday, fantastic. And I came on 5:30 my time, which is 8:30 Eastern. So I'll try to do that again. It's easier to do that on the weekends. Oh, yay! Hockey game. Hockey game like professional or your kids? I'm curious now. I watched a professional women's, San Diego has a professional women's volleyball team now. And they had their home opener Friday night. And I was supposed to go to the game, but I couldn't. So, but I was able to watch it live, and it was so, so good. All right. Sounds good. Okay. Well, you enjoyed that hockey game. And with that, I will do our outro. And we'll see you in a week, and we'll see you in the community pages as well.